Today is Friday. Every Friday, have Uongozi coming your way, where we critically look at the leadership of the day, analyzing, of course, the strengths and weaknesses as well. And we are focusing on the current, of course, a cabinet that has just been shaken into place, the previous meeting that they had in Nyanyuki, and how the president has laid out his plan to make sure that this country is moving forward on all aspects of our strength, economically, politically, and of course, socially as well. Thank you, because this is, of course, our maiden show, Uongozi today here this year. So I'm glad that we've got a lot of issues to discuss, just taking a sweeping broad view of what we are to look at, and of course, laying the ground on which is the main concern currently for wananchi as far as the cost of living is concerned. That is a big ticket as well that we'll put on the table. Also, yesterday we saw in 40 years, Kenya has not experienced the kind of drought that we've been subjected to right now with the suppressed rains, as it were. But also, analysts, they point out and say it is not really a matter of course, the climate change, but truly looking back, it is about logistics and distribution and poor planning from our end, because other parts of the country, we've got bounty, we've got, of course, also food that is stockpiled in the stores as well. We shall be looking at this and a raft of other issues as well. With our panelists today, we'll be, of course, joined by Ambrose Akinola, who's already in studio. Also, we'll be joined by Dr. Isaac Green Kalua. Also, we'll be joined by Dr. Martin Olo and Churchill Suba. A lot that we have to discuss, but let me just give them an opportunity to just say hi this morning. It's been a while, and I'm asking that standard fair question of how they crossed over from 2022 to 2023. Looking sharp as always. Ambrose Akinola, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, Debal.
Yes.
Good morning, fellow Kenyans, locally and abroad. I trust the year has begun well. Happy New Year. Praise the Lord. It's the year that the Lord has made, that we are supposed to rejoice and be glad in it, to expand, prosper, and be blessed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as people, your Father in heaven says, you are more than a conqueror. Mm-hmm. Somebody who is more than a conqueror is somebody who is more than a victor. Mm-hmm. You are significant. Mm-hmm. So if you are significant and that testimony has been given about you, then it means you must search that significance. Don't look at your circumstances today. Don't look at your difficulties, whether you slept hungry or not. Just say, inside me, there is significance. My Father has said it. The one who created me has said it is inside. So you look for the significance. And some of the things we face regularly, daily, are to shape us up. The way you chip, raw diamond? Raw diamond is different from now, the one which has been made into a ring. Raw diamond is cheaper, but the one which has been chiseled into a ring. Gold that has been melted through hot fire into the ring. So you melt yourself, you chisel yourself so that significance comes. And when it comes, then you are more than a conqueror. Whatever comes. Even if you walk in the valley in the shadow of death, death is here, and there's a valley. Fear no evil.
Fear no evil.
So the people of Kenya chisel in, move up, go, and do not listen or glorify difficulties. Oh, the economy is bad. All these things. Just ask yourself, what product can I put in this economy, in the service of our fellow human beings, that from there I become significant. So God bless you, enlarge your territory in the new 2023 as we await to prosper in a very special and mighty way.
Right, the canon side of Ambrose Akinola, the clergy, giving us, of course, some pep talk in the morning to just sort of psych us up as well. Talking about significance, another man that is significant also is Dr. Isaac Green. Thank you for joining us. Yes, you can tell us how you crossed over, how significant it was for you. What are the projections for 2023? I saw your article also in the Standard, a very, of course, telling article. Just how in the last 30 years you've hacked back to your life and how you've seen, you going up and down, lessons that you've gleaned from, those years as well. Tell us more.
I don't take it for granted that you invited me to this show, Debal, and I pray that God may bless you abundantly, like never before. this year will be a great year for you.
Indeed.
And your team members, and also your institution.
Indeed.
I'm sure that there has been some turbulence, but who says that life is sweet without such turbulence?
Indeed.
And I'm glad that you read my articles in the Standard, and I think it was one of those articles that you say, what is life about?
Yes.
And I think it is encouraging and a good starting point that over the 30 years that I have been as an eco-entrepreneur, I found that, number one, we must embrace mistakes. So much. You know, I love mistakes so much because they have made me.
Yes.
The only thing is that you must choose never to repeat a mistake. And the application that I shared in the article is MPR. So make mistakes, never repeat any. And the second one is to be a problem solver. And I think if this year, as Kenyans, we approach the issues that we face with firefighters' mind, a firefighter does not stop to ask who started the fire. They put off the fire and deal with the rest later. So the P is the problem solving. And the third one is respect for people, Debal. You must respect each other. It is out of respect that you can share truth without hiding. It is respect that gets you to greater levels. It is out of such that you can be able to harness what is in somebody else that you did not have. So MPR is the way to go in the new year, and actually life. And you'll be happy to know that I'm putting together a book. I've been doing this for a long time, but so one of the greatest things that I want to achieve before the end of the year is to get out the book so that it can be a blessing to many people world over.
Is it a memoir or it's just...
It's beyond a memoir.
It's beyond...
yes. And it brings out the MPR in the best way possible.
Oh, indeed.
Yes.
So we're expecting it, when are we expecting it?
Later in the year.
Later in the year.
At least by my birthday, 14th of September, somehow, so that we can have it as a milestone of what I have been able to do over the years. So we look forward to a great year. It started very well with a windfall for tea farmers in the country, meaning there is hope. And I'm sure we just need to be consistent. We need to work very hard. We have today the president going to Kisumu.
Yes.
I don't just see him going to Kisumu, but he's going to celebrate a person who is going to change this country, the person who is going to bring down corruption in the country. And I say this because automation of government systems is the way to go that is really going to transform our country to greater heights. So I look forward to a great year, blessings unmatched, and the fact that we are here. God is with us.
Indeed.
Yes.
Automation is the way to go. If they really don't also game the system, you know, there are culprits also who know how to, even if you automate things, they will actually game the system itself and corrupt it as well at the end of the day. But we want to thank you so much. MPR is a good way to also just give us a way to peg our thoughts on how we can organize our lives moving forward, mistakes, problem solving. It's critical. I know they always say that you're either born to do something, one, to solve a problem, or also you are the one who's creating the problem. So which side are you in? You know, are you the problem solver or the problem creator?
And you know, as you say it, Debal, MPR also stands for monthly problem, monthly, what did I say?
Monthly problem?
It's monthly progress report, MPR. So every month you must identify what mistakes did I make, including the smallest. Even if it is just setting an alarm and you did not wake up at that time. Did you overindulge the previous night and therefore you can avoid it? Because mistakes are mistakes and you must embrace them every moment. So you must, on a monthly progress, on a monthly period, identify what mistakes I made, how many problems I solved, and how many people I respected for God's glory.
Indeed.
So it's monthly progress report.
So you generate your own report as well. You just analyze how well, where do I need to course correct moving forward? Am I getting better or not? Indeed. We shall be looking at more of this on the show today. But right now we want to buckle down and see what the pages of the dailies are holding for us, looking at of course, the splashes as well, beginning with the bold paper. This is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Standard today. Cash is king. As mobile money fees inflict pain. Cash is king. As mobile money inflicts pain, a court has given Kenyans a reprieve after it temporarily stopped the increase in mobile money transfer charges, easing the blow on customers already reeling from the harsh economic conditions, even as others sought refuge in dealing in cash to avoid multiple transaction fees. This story on page 6 and 7 of the Standard today. Everyone has been, of course, complaining about the rising cost of living, and this was bound to be happening this month as well. But now the court has intervened, albeit temporarily. But you can read all about it on page 6 and 7 of the Standard. And also looking on top here, emotions run high as family, friends eulogize Kasavuli. Yesterday was a record mass of the king of TV, and that story is tucked on page 10 of the Standard today. We shall also hear from a panelist just to hark back during her time on how she also, visited and our living rooms, delivered news with style and panache. And we shall also just give a sporting chance to them to send their condolences to the TV king or queen, I should say. Terra, US 1.2 billion shillings reward. US is awarding 1.2 billion shillings reward on a terror suspect there. You can read all about it on page 11. Also loans, more trouble for borrowers. You have the story there tucked on page 27 of the Standard, and sends a shock Man City. That is on sports pages. Remember, today is Friday, and Paul's magazine comes your way. Beef it up is what the splash is. Ruto to storm Raila's backyard. Nyanza's residents upbeat as president begins a two-day walking tour of region considered the stronghold of his political rival and Azimio leader Raila Odinga. The story to follow is all laid out for you on page 4 of the Standard. Windfall for tea farmers as KTDA, of course, put their house in order there. Windfall for tea farmers at KTDA. I think you should read. Tea farmers to get early bonus for their crop deliveries after Agriculture CS Mithika Linturi yesterday announced the release of 5.5 billion shillings, and that is tucked away on page 8 of the Standard. Windfall for tea farmers at KTDA. And we can see the presidential salute yesterday. This was a press out parade. President William Ruto can be seen here inspecting a guard of honor during the 49th General Service Unit passing out a parade in Embakasi, Nairobi yesterday. This is how the Standard is looking this morning. Let's see what we have on the front page of the Daily Nation. Raila changes tune. Ahead of Ruto visit is the splash you're waking up to. Warming up? That is the question on top there. The flagger local leaders say they will present development wish list. It all appears like a decision to put the 2022 elections behind him. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya chief has advised leaders from Homa Bay and Siaya to welcome the president to their counties and engage him on development matters. The head of state's visit to Nyanza today promises to be different from the October one, when the elected leaders gave him a cold shoulder. And you have that story on page 4 of the Daily Nation this morning. Catherine Kiza Kasavuli being, of course, honored there yesterday and paying tribute. Everyone now pouring in for Kenyan's TV darling, for decades veteran journalist Catherine Kasavuli. Wow TV viewers with her eloquence and glamour. She also wore an infectious smile that further endeared her to her multitude of fans. Yesterday, former colleagues, friends, and family eulogized her as a trailblazer in the media industry with an unforgettable sense of humor. Kasavuli died on December the 29th, 2022 of cancer. She was 60. You have that story tucked away on page 8 of the Daily Nation this morning. Also, there are killings which going on here. Rights group accuses police of killing 150 here. That is a report speaking during the release of the World Report 2023, which review human rights practices in 100 countries. Mr. Osieno Namwaya, the Kenya researcher, said accountability and justice by the government on police killings and forced disappearances was a major human rights issue. You can follow the story inside the Daily Nation today. You have my network and the voice coming in handy for you as well. Looking on top here, the teaser windfall, the tea farmers to get 5.5 billion shillings in paid bonus is on the back page of the Daily Nation. Also a sad rally star Maxine and the probe for murder. That is a story that you want to follow inside the Daily Nation this morning. U-turn. Raila troops now embrace Ruto is a splash on the Star. President starts symbolic two-day visit to Nyanza to be received by top ODM leaders. That story, you can follow it on page 4 and 5. Kasavuli eulogized as eloquent and bright. That is a story you want to follow also inside the Star this morning. And you can see the mother there, Catherine Kasavuli's mother, Rachel Kasavuli, paying tribute to her daughter as Hassan Martin and relatives look on during a memorial service at Friends International Church in Nairobi on January the 12th. That story, you can also follow it inside the Star. Doctors confirm getting many untreatable cases of STIs from Nairobi. Doctors have confirmed increased cases of people presenting with gonorrhea from Nairobi and Kiambu. The medics who spoke to the Star on the phone are in agreement that difficult to treat sexually transmitted infections have been rising in Nairobi, while attention was focused on COVID-19. Of course, of concern, I should say, is gonorrhea after researchers from the Kenya Medical Research Center identified a strain that resisted all medication. Page 2 is where it is all laid out for you. America offers 1.2 billion shillings for leading to arrest of Dusit 2 terror suspect and cash crunchers. Treasury yet to send 258 billion shillings to county government. That story on page 8 of the Star. Also, you have the Siasa Pull-Out magazine that comes in handy for you every weekend, and it's all about banditry. Kindiki's naughty task. Will CS Kindiki win banditry war where others failed? That is a probing question. People Daily is up next. Murder in the family is a splash. Crime trends. Expert blame mental illness, hard economic times, infidelity, raw appetite for property, loss of livelihoods, poor temperament and negative media for spect of killings, painting an ugly portrait of a people increasingly attaching little value to human life. This is very telling that experts are blaming mental illness, hard economic times, infidelity, raw appetite for property, loss of livelihoods, poor temperament and negative media for spate of killings, painting an ugly portrait of a people increasingly attaching little value to human life, right? The sanctity of life. Have we lost that consciousness? Ruto tours Raila's tough with goodies. That is a story to want to follow on page 8. President set to launch housing project in Nyanza before attending CS's homecoming party. And we can see a section of the house in which 3 children were burned to death at Kawedei village, Kangundo, in Machakos County, over what police believe is a raging land dispute that also just, I should say, trying to add the weight to what the headline is all reading about and why the crimes are rising exponentially because of property, poor temperament, and negative media. That is the People Daily for you. Let's see what we have on the front page of Taifa Leo. Wazungu wapapasa Raila mgongo. That is what the splash is all reading about. Odinga amekuwa akikutana na mabalozi wa nchi za magharibi na kupunguza makali ya ukosoaji wa serikali. That story, you can follow it inside Taifa Leo, and you can see an insert there. Right Honorable Raila Odinga here with one of the High Commissioners here, that is Jane Marriott, katika makazi yake rasmi jijini Nairobi mnamo Jumatano. That is what Taifa Leo is saying. You can read the rest of the stories inside there. Business Daily. Land depreciation hits 7 Nairobi premier suburbs. That is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Business Daily. Today, regions lose value by up to 11% in 5 years. Analysts cite market correction due to gluts, right? This was bound to happen with the rising properties erected everywhere here in the country. So the market is correcting itself. You can read all about it inside the Business Daily this morning. State bus recurrent budget focused by, excuse me, 81.7 billion shillings is another story that you can follow. High Court suspends bank to mobile money charges. NHIF drops 43% of members for defaulting on contribution, and masks data farm eyes Kenya entry by June. You can follow that story inside the Business Daily this morning. Let's cross over to Uganda briefly. UNEB hikes exam fees for all levels. That is a splash. Drama's court freezes UMSC operations. Also in Tanzania, Kurasini project stops as government shifts focus. It's still there in Tanzania. I want to show you the Mwananchi, but the New Times in Rwanda has come up. Why some plots of land in Kigali will be exempt from tax. Residential zones in the city without infrastructure to facilitate planned settlement will not pay land taxes. That story on page 3. And why new Rwanda-Turkey deal matters. You can follow the story inside the New Times in Rwanda. The East African, of course, this week has been holding this splash. The East Africa I Want. Kenya's President William Ruto is said to be angling for eager chair with the aim of stabilizing the whole East and Central Africa target markets for the economy he is rebuilding. They have the story on page 4 and 5 of East Africa. Kenya, now no country for all trucks. Much ado about Nairobi's move to restrict importation of lorries older than 3 years. You can follow the story on page 23 of the East African. This was Mwananchi in Tanzania. Hofu bora wa elimu ya Tanda. That is what the Mwananchi is holding in Tanzania. Today is editorial cartoons. This is where now I want to ask Ambrose to comment. We can see Home Sweet Home. Home Sweet Home, this is in the Daily Nation today, Victor. And we can see President William Ruto there holding the chief provocateur, Miguna. And I think this other face looks like Obado. And in the bedroom, of course, this is in Raila Odinga stuff is peeping out from the bedroom, you can see. It's talking about, or actually is trying to depict the visit that is happening today in Nyanza.
Thank you so much,
Nyanza today as well.
Thank you so much, Debal. I think the pariah way of reporting the Luo nation is amazing to us. As a member of the Luo community, for instance, Ruto stormed Raila backyard. Ruto is the president of the Republic of Kenya. The way he goes to Kiambu, the way he goes to Sugoi is the way he should come to Kisumu, is the way he should come to Homa Bay. So when he comes to Homa Bay, then it's like storm. It's like us, we are another nation or other category or other people, that when people come, when the president comes, something to be reported, headline all over. No. Let's not paint Baba in a very bad light. Let's not paint the Luo nation in a very bad light. The president is welcome. Welcome to the UK and the environs. UK is the United Kisumu and the environs, that is Siaya, Homa Bay and Migori. And he comes as one of us, as our president, and he is most welcome by all, including Baba himself has said, let the leaders come in, welcome him, discuss with him business. So this thing of it is something so strange. Honorable Bado is there. He's been governor. He has finished his tour of duty. It is not the president who elected him. It is the people of Migori, the Luo nation, elected him. They voted for him. So now, to allocate him elsewhere and say, now, when the president comes, he belongs to the president, or honorable, or my brother, Miguna. Miguna had a problem with the passport. He also had a problem with the Honorable Raila in one way or the other. But problems are everywhere. We want 2023, the Luo nation, to be treated like any other part of the country. We don't report Honorable Ruto storms the coast. Honorable Ruto storms Taita Taveta. This storm should end. The president is welcome to launch programs, to celebrate with one of us, Honorable Owalo, and for us as a nation to continue. The people of Luoland, please welcome the president. Do not allow this narrative. This narrative has been put for many years. We have turned a new leaf. This new leaf is, we will deal with elections when elections come. But after elections, we will move as citizens of the Republic of Kenya. And that is where we are going. So this storm and cartoons saying some people are being held. The president is holding, that cartoon should have been holding Leze Owalo. He should have been holding. Why are you pricking other people who are not even closer to the president than his close associates? That whatever. So demonizing the Luo nation 2023, those who are in the media houses, those who are outside there, we will not allow you. And may Jehovah correct you, recalibrate your thinking towards the Luo people.
You know, is whether today a politician or is you an analyst, we will not allow.
And a clergy. He's always roll into one.
Latecomers. These are latecomers. These two are latecomers. They should apologize. Latecomers. I don't know. Him and his teacher, permanent latecomer, but he's a great man. Now, I don't know which school you went to where you come late and then you start smiling without saying Mali. So you are late. Anyway, I'm glad to see you in 2020. You're good people.
Thank you. Thank you.
They missed Dr. Kalua's MPR. Yeah?
Great.
Yeah?
At least there's an opportunity. Reading the article, my article last week is a must read.
Okay.
But again, Prof, will be releasing a book later in the year, looking forward that you will also have a look at it. Maybe I can present an advance copy for you to just guide and critique. That could. Okay, it's a deal.
The deal.
It's a deal. Thank you.
All right. Dr. Kalua, don't you think also this, and I know during the campaign trains we had this particular rift that the chasm that was widening politically from the Raila staff and the Ruto, and this is a good opportunity to be a reconciliatory moment, you know, for the president, who is a stabilizing figure, as you say. He's got every right to be visiting every nook and cranny of his country. So this will be it, that the nation needs healing so far. The nation needs a cohesion, and this rift is trying now to bridge it by this visitation that he's doing in every other part of the country right now.
You have actually said it in the question, what needs to be done, and I see the visit of the president out there. This country has made so many mistakes before.
Yes.
And as I said, we need to embrace every mistake, hug it, and move on, choosing not to repeat the mistakes that we have done. And I actually thank the cartoonist and even the person who has written that Raila is storming the turf of the Raila. Rather, the president is storming that, because at the end of the day, it is the Mwananchi to judge. So we are all looking out to see what the storming is. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, we realize that actually there was no storming. It is just the president visiting his own turf. At the end of the day, we realize that the media, the way we present things is not the right way, and therefore we have the opportunity to correct. The counties are receiving a lot of money, a lot of budget allocation that is going out there. You can see the storm that the vice president, the deputy president, is looking or seemingly trying to control the counties, and that the Senate should not allow such to happen. I think we need to look at things in a better way, in a very open manner, because what we have been doing as a country is to suspect each other for almost nothing. And therefore, we need to start embracing. What is this? If counties are receiving monies, if there is no automation up to date, that there are counties that are actually paying their wages and salaries on manual systems, what are the opportunities? Isn't there a system that can be made to make sure that the counties are efficient? Isn't there a way we can get into a reward system for best doing countries, best performing counties, so that they can be able to benefit and people can focus? Isn't there an opportunity that for us as a country, we need to start looking at each county in a manner that we need to market top marketers in this country need to be employed, to be given an opportunity to market what each county is doing so that the world can see the better side of us, as opposed just to focusing on what has been done wrong. So I see this visit as an opportunity for uniting the communities. I see the president meeting people that he had not met before, or his enemies, four enemies, people who had imagined that the presidency is not here yet they are going to be there. Imagine if the president goes there, he lands and he has his CSAs, he has everybody else. The thing is done. We have a president. So we just have to work with that president. We need to get everybody to unite in that manner, including all the other political parties that need to put all these things together. So yes, as I said, you have said it in the question, it's a great opportunity that now the country needs to focus on unity, because it is only unity that is going to drive this country towards development. We have such a great country.
So every artist can decipher this very differently. You can see Victor, you're saying, why do we have Miguna and Obado, being held by the president? Here we can see we have a zone in the Star who is showing us, yes, the president is coming bearing goodies. And of course, flanking him on that particular other side is the CS Minister, Oalo, as well. Looking at the governors who are no-show, the last time that we saw the president in Nyanza, we have Siaya, we have Migori there, we have Womabe. The governors are all seen there, looking at that cartoon, and we can see the shadow of Raila Odinga. They had given that excuse that, there was no communique from the presidential, the units that the president will be visiting Nyanza, or they were not really invited. This time forth, we hope that communication has been done, or that was just, trotting some excuse.
Dibali, if I chip in, and again, thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for seeing my colleagues in the new year. They are looking bright and prosperous.
Thank you.
It's not looking. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay.
You can't just look about it.
I know. Canon, I know. Dibali, there are several things that we need to understand and accept. There is governance and there is politics. Once elections are done, we expect the president and the country to run in terms of the governance structures that we have in place. You are a governor elected, the president is elected, you run a government at the county, the president runs the national government. Of necessity, you don't need permission from anybody as a governor to talk to the president of the country. The president doesn't need any permission from anybody to talk to the nation and to talk to people in governance or people in leadership. So we must, and I agree with my good friend Ambrose here, that we must begin to look at this country as ours, not sections belong to different people, and that when the president goes there, he's storming there. And in that also we have a lesson, even for Raila, for example. Is he a national leader, or is he the leader of the Luo nation? So that it is not that he has the strings to pull or to push in order for the Luo nation to access national resources. So let us get this also out. And so I think that what we are seeing is that the country is one, and the president is the president of the country. He is free to go anywhere. The thing that is less here, which is not right, is that he's going with goodies. No. These people are Kenyans. They are paying taxes. They are deserving of every program that the government runs. So if he is going there to say, these are the programs of the country, that are made for this area, they're not goodies. They are entitlements. They are the benefits that Kenyans should have because they are paying taxes. So there is a way in which we don't want to see the president as going to seduce, going to influence, going to woo. No, that's not the point. The point is, he is going to part of the country. He is going to talk development. And there's something that, again, Dr. Isaac Kalua said. There is a way in which we must begin to look at this country and correct mistakes in the past. You can't condemn a people just because they didn't vote you or they didn't vote the way you wanted. No. They are still part of this country. And then there is a place where we have actually moved on with the Constitution of Kenya 2010. We no longer talk of opposition and government. We talk about minority, and we talk about majority, which means that whether you are in parliament or in the executive or in the judiciary, you belong to the government. So members of parliament that come from Nyanza or other regions that didn't vote Kenya Kwanza are part of the government, in the sense that in parliament, parliament operates as one. There is no opposition and there is no government side in parliament. Similarly to the executive, it is one. It's the executive that's run by the president. So, and the counties also are units that are also run by the various chief executives that have been elected by people. So we must begin to look at this, and lastly, on this point, we should see the interdependence and the independence of the national and county governments. Because of necessity, even the president can't do much in any part of this country unless he is working with the county governments. County governments can't do much on their own unless they are working with the national government. So the spirit of the constitution is that these units are independent, but they are interdependent, meaning of necessity they must work in collaboration. Of necessity they must speak to each other. Yes, there will be differences, but those differences shouldn't stop people from looking at the country as one. And of course, on this point of whether the DP is the supervisor of the counties, I think that the allocation of that task in the executive order is one of collaboration, one of partnership, one of mediation and so on. And remember that by law and by constitution, the deputy president is the chair of the IBEC. IBEC is that institution that looks at the funding of the county governments. And that is the point. And then the president is the chair of the summit. So there are mechanisms in the constitution that allow for consultations, partnerships, collaboration. And nothing should be seen either as supervisory or as imposing, to be resisted or otherwise. We have one country. Let us live in it. Let's not look like we are always politicking.
Right, and of course, you say this is not just some goodies. This is what is expected of the president to deliver for the people of Kenya at the end of the day. And we can see Stano is saying they are hustler goodies. So you're correcting that. These are not hustler goodies that are coming there.
Just jumping in a sentence.
A sentence.
When these houses are built in Gara, they are called development. When they are to be built in Homa Bay, they are called goodies. Chungeni nyinyi bwana.
Hustler goodies. Churchill, good to see you. And I just wanted to pose this question. Is this also a providential opportunity for the president to address the issue of the counties and the monies that should be deployed in the counties so far? 258 billion shillings is what is expected to be deployed, and that has not happened yet. So a raft of issues, confluence of issues should be taken on that particular platform in Nyanza to address the system as it is right now with the counties. We have the ghost workers, we have the pending bills that has not been addressed, and this is just a carryover from the previous regime to the current government, and we have the issue of cash crunch. So,
yes, thank you very much, Dibal. I think what is happening, and I think there are a number of actors that need to be acknowledged here. First of all, of course, the fact that the reality is that previous presidents and give credit where it is due. President William Ruto is visiting the region for the second time. Previous presidents have been cautious, and cautious because they always thought that the people would be hostile to such visits. But the fact that the leader of opposition, Raila Odinga, not yesterday but a couple of days ago, said that Azimio-leaning governors are at liberty to work with the president because Article 6 of the Constitution, is very clear that governments at national and county levels are distinct and interdependent, and to that extent will exercise their mutual relationships on the basis of cooperation and partnerships. And so it is for me a sign that our democracy is maturing, one. that increasingly people are learning to separate, development from politics. You remember immediately after the elections, a number of embassies that are today, hosting Raila, advised their citizens out of nowhere to be extra careful when visiting Nyanza. Nothing untoward happened, and they were left with egg on their face. Today we are seeing them hosting Raila, those same embassies that gave advisories. So the people of the region have realized that previously there were people, urgent provocateurs, who would use their persistent voting for the opposition or being in the opposition to deny them their rightful share of national development. And it is also, maturing for the president, because you remember when the president was campaigning, and especially in Mount Kenya region, he kept on telling his supporters that President Uhuru had abandoned the region. Well, the implication was that the president, having been voted massively by the region, should not have been going to Nyanza, should not have been. So it's a mix of politics and development. And so it is interesting to see that the president is going back to the region for a second time. And some of these things that are being portrayed as goodies are development projects that are already in the pipeline. He's merely going to officiate something that the previous regime denied him. The tiff between the current president and the immediate former was that he had been denied the occasion to commission some of these and politic around them.
Take mileage.
And take mileage. That was the politics. And so he has the whole field, he has the whole field for himself to achieve that. But for me, more importantly, is trying to demarcate the boundary between campaign politics and when development should happen. And I think this is good for the region, so that if anyone thought that the region would continue to lag behind because they voted otherwise, or because they'll continue to portray continued hostility to the government of the day, then they must be deprived. And I think this is a good thing. So let other people look for other excuses for denying the region development, but it will not be on account that, they are not receptive, that they are hostile to the president. And I think, this for me is something that needs to be lauded. When you go to mature democracies, you'll find the Democratic Party, for example, in the US, sitting side by side with the Republicans. On other matters, if you go to, there was a time I did some consultancy for UNDP in South Sudan, and you'll find the offices of the International Republican Institute, which is a foundation of the Republicans, sharing an office block with the National Endowment for Democracy, NDI, National Democratic Institute. Yet, such a thing would be unheard of. It's like Azimio sharing the Jubilee House along Bika Road, except on different floors. I think that's where we are heading to, so that people do not become unnecessarily suspicious when some of these things, unfold and happen as they seem to be happening. Of course, the president is a politician, and we know what he did. He will, of course, attempt to use such opportunities to see whether he can entice a few people to make inroads. That is politics. The Right Honorable Raila Odinga also, despite welcoming the president, also will visit the region to try and fill in any cracks that may have emerged, because we are human beings, we get enticed, and when we see some of those things, we are bound to react in a particular way. So I think it is, for me, a good thing, and of course a bit of politics inside it, because all these are political animals, and each of them will be looking for avenues to make entry points and so on and so forth. But it is something that is laudable. I can't blame the media for dramatizing it, because these are things that used to happen, not to happen in the past. We are barely 4 months after the elections, and so when we see these things happening, they say it is news when a dog bites, a man bites a dog, but not news when a dog bites a man. So this is one of those classical cases, and I think the media has projected it rightly, that this is something that, you know, has not been happening before, and therefore it makes some, you know, headline news, either through cartoons or stories.
Indeed, and of course, we're looking at the headline in the Star, where Raila is imploring, you know, his political operatives to actually embrace the president. Is a U-turn, as the Star will put it, on the Right Honorable Raila Odinga himself, the former Prime Minister.
The Bal where I come from, there is a saying, Pio Ingomogo.
Pio Ingomogo.
Pio Ingomogo. Honorable Raila can continue telling people, oh, don't see this, don't see this, don't see this. But there are things which, for instance, hurts the people. If, say, for instance, the president is going to launch a housing project in Homa Bay, the key person there is Honorable Wanga. So doing a disappearing act, running away, only hurts the people. So Honorable Raila is a smart, consummate, far-seeing politician. He can see that the water is more than the unga, and therefore he has to act wise. That is why, to forestall what would be like a rebellion, he would say go. I remember the first time when Honorable Wanga did a disappearing act, Professor Nyong'o, on the other hand, just welcomed the president. They talked and they even came, took photographs. So it's about maturity, it's about vulnerability. There are some politicians who are so vulnerable that if they just went on their own, they'll be told, oh, so you have left Baba. Ngojea. Wait, we will deal with you. And some of them can be dealt with even in the streets. They can't walk, they can't talk anywhere, they can't go to any funeral, they can't. That is why now, somehow, when Baba comes and says, oh, please, can you now welcome the president, or whatever, the ordinary Wananchi would ordinarily welcome the president, whether Baba said it or not. They welcomed Uhuru before. So he has done a good thing to say that. It is good, let's embrace it. Means let us welcome His Excellency the President. Let the people welcome him. Let us play our part as a sub-nation, so that we are not just projected as stone throwers or people waiting for Baba. Baba, on the other hand, welcome the president. He's a leader in the whole country. This thing of when the president goes to Cumberland, he doesn't tell them, embrace. But when the president comes to Homa Bay, he says, let him remain at that leadership level. Our Sisi, he is sub-nation in your village, so that we are not also kept out, because it will appear like we are rebelling from him. Let him not put the leaders in a corner where anytime you come to the office of the president, anytime you talk to Honorable Walo, anytime you talk to anytime you come down to State House, you are betraying Baba. Baba, time is up.
Time is up.
The writing is on the wall.
All right, the writing is on the wall, according to Ambrose Weather. Let me just hear from Dr. Green Kalua. The question of the broader aspect, if you may speak to it, on the brand of our politics changing from balkanization, this is my home turf, these are my people, it seems now to be also disappearing in a thick mist right now with the current regime as it is, where we saw you coming on the politics of issues. And that is the brand of politics that now Kenya is welcoming so far. What would be your aspect compared to this visitation and many other parts of the country that, as he points out, no one should claim that this is my home turf anymore, or I'm beholden to these people anymore?
Let me say, first of all, there is the historical bit of the entire Kisumu and region story with the presidents of this country. What has happened before? You remember, it is the place where the former President Kenyatta, the first founding father of our nation, was stoned. You remember what happened and in the period of President Moi, how the region was towards the government. And what my friend and colleague Weda did not say in stating the saying, he forgot to mention a saying in Doluo that says, Opok ogoe pige. There is what people are used to do, and the way they do things with a lot of respect. Like he is very experienced in, some of these things, the way we do it. This is what we must try to remove from what we are used to. And I think the region and the country is embracing friendship out of what mistakes have been done before. I see a situation where, as leaders, and because this is a leadership forum, where we need to get our people to focus more on what needs to be done for the people. As we speak, matters of health are serious. Matters of agriculture needs to be done, and they are all devolved. And I'll give an example of what happened to me last week. My mother was unwell, and I was told about the Kitui General Hospital, where I should be able to take my mother, and that there is a private wing that is supposed to be doing things in a very good way. And actually, about 3 people confirmed to me. I said, why not? I took my mother to the hospital. The first thing I found about is what should be a shocker to every county in this country. I appeared there, and this is the amenity ward. The first thing that we were asked to do is to go out and bring a copy of a form which is supposed to be written what kind of tests that she's supposed to get. I was patient enough. I went out to the bureau or kiosk where I am supposed to get a copy of the form. One bureau was closed, the second bureau was closed, and we could not get a form, a mere form, to say this patient, let her be tested on 1, 2, 3. One form in a hospital, county hospital. I had an opportunity of complaining, but who are you going to complain to? Maybe the county doesn't have the money. Maybe there is delayed delivery of funds. So I had to take away my mother to a private hospital. But I left wondering how many people, because there are many people in the line, and this is the amenity ward, not just the normal ward. So what action can you take in that situation? So I have now photocopied 1,000 copies of that document, which I received, and I'm going to deliver to the hospital so that people can be given. In the meanwhile, while that problem is being sorted out. This is the approach that we need to start looking at. We have serious issues at the county levels. Medical, people are suffering. There is no medication. If there is no form that can make a request for a test to be done, what else is going wrong? Even the casual way the doctor is dealing with this is that they are tired, that they can't even understand that they have to send you away. When the president visits a place like the region that is going to visit, let us face the hard questions that we must face. Leaders wawache upuzi na ujinga. Sorry to use this kind of word. We have a country, we have a president.
Some leaders.
Yes, well, the leadership is
the wrong governor, then you complain here.
So you need to start now thinking, how can we solve the problem? Because someone is somewhere sitting trying to solve a problem, and they actually are doing so. But how fast can they deal with it in a manner that is going to settle the current challenge and problems that we have in this country? I think that is the approach, to solve the problem, everyone in their own place, whether myself, Prof, and Prof here, need to deal. What are we solving? The country and the government is us. What is it that the little that we are going to do that is going to sort out the challenges that we have?